But I'm very excited for this session. A lot of times you go to a conference and you don't really have time to process or integrate some of the things you're learning. And one of the main pieces of feedback that Hung and the Culture Summit team received last year is that there wasn't enough time for interactive sessions and really kind of talking with each other and learning from each other. So that's what this session is all about. It's a facilitated group share on how to make your culture soar. And we have two facilitators that are joining us, Robert Ellis and Michelle Taipale, who are both executive coaches at Futurosity. Robert Ellis has guided hundreds of global executives and teams, from startup founders to CEOs, on their inner and outer journeys toward extraordinary leadership. He teaches for the Global Startup Program at Singularity University and coaches entrepreneurs for SU Ventures and the NASDAQ Milestone Makers Program. And Michelle is a transformative thought partner for high achievers who want to become more powerful, intentional, and effective leaders. She is a passionate advocate for human potential who thrives on helping executives, founders, and innovators optimize their impact in the world and their well-being. She's a coach at the Wharton School and client director of Duke Corporate Education. So please join me in welcoming Robert and Michelle to the stage.
Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Cool.
So let me just check in here before we get started. How many of you work in HR or people ops or organizational development? You actually work in that field? Wow. A lot of you. Okay. And how many of you find that it's challenging to talk to your CEO or your coworkers and get them interested in and want to invest in culture? Okay. So it can be a challenge, right? Let's try something here. Take your pinky, your index finger. Raise your right hand or your left hand if you're left-handed. Okay, all together now. This is the audience participation part. Okay, now touch your nose. Okay, that was too easy. All right, let's try this. Raise both hands. Put out your pinky. Now close your eyes. Close your eyes. I'm looking. I can tell from here, you know. Close your eyes. Okay, now touch your nose and then touch your other thumb real quick. And when you've done that, open your eyes. Touch your nose and then touch your other thumb real quick. What happened? Touch your nose and then touch your other thumb. Okay, close your eyes. Try it. Okay, all together now. This is choreographed, this is synchronized swimming, okay? Put both hands up in the air. Close your eyes. Now, touch your nose with your right hand or your dominant hand, then touch your thumb of your other hand. How many of you found it, look around the room. How many of you found it a little bit hard to find your thumb? Yeah? How many of you found it hard to know which finger was your thumb? I know, this is hard. See, this is the test to make sure you're still awake, because I know it's the end of the day. So here's the thing. When we talk about culture, when we talk about recruiting or onboarding or working remotely, or even when we talk about beanbag chairs or kombucha on tap, like everybody can understand that. That's like touching your nose. But when we talk about culture, it's a little bit different. Even in this room, my guess is that there are a lot of different ideas about what culture actually is in this room. And so when you talk to your CEO or you talk to coworkers who are not culture champions, who don't speak this language, who don't know about culture, it can be very difficult to get buy-in, because for them, it's like finding their thumb with their eyes closed. So what I want to do is give you a very simple model, a very simple framework to help you talk about and frame your ideas about culture, because in our experience, we found that it's really useful in helping other people understand and buy into the importance of culture. And so I want to give you a very simple model, and then Michelle is going to help you do some sharing and harvesting all of the learnings that you've gathered while you've been here at the conference, and share best practices and things like that. So the idea here is based on airplanes. So do you know how an airplane flies? There are actually 4 forces at work on an airplane. There's lift, which is which is what makes the airplane go up. And lift has to overcome weight. And weight is what makes the airplane go down. Then there's thrust. Thrust is what makes the airplane go forward. And it has to overcome drag, everything that would keep the plane from going forward. Okay? So using this as a metaphor for culture, we have lift, which is everything that makes you excited to come to work. So what are some things, what are the kinds of things that make you excited to come to work? Just call it out and I'll repeat it. Sorry? Relationships with your colleagues. What else? Challenging projects. What else? Flexibility. What else? Office space. Nice office space or just any office space? Your office space. Okay, we all want to work where she works. What else? Meaningful work. Okay, exactly. So lift is everything that makes you excited about coming to work. It's things like meaning and purpose, good relationships, trust, psychological safety, all the things that we talk about, right? And weight is everything that makes you want to stay home in bed. So what kinds of things make you want to stay home in bed and not come to work? Drama. What else? Bad supervisors. What else? I'm sorry? Fatigue. What else? Traffic. What? Your babies. Oh, well, that's a good reason to stay home in bed. All right. But weight is everything that demotivates us, right? It's politics, it's gossip, it's backstabbing, it's ruthless competition, all of that stuff. And I see some head nods. We're all familiar with this, right? Thrust is everything that helps you to get stuff done. So what kinds of things help you to get stuff done at work? Collaboration. What else? Good bosses. What else? The right tools, the right software. What else? Budget. Okay? Thrust is all of those things that help you to be productive. It's clear goals and clear direction, clear roles and responsibilities, collaboration, the right resources. Now, I want to point something out here. It can be a little confusing because some of the things that give you lift also help you to be more productive. And some of the things that help you to be more productive also make you more motivated to come to work. But they are also 2 different things. And in my conversations with HR professionals, one of the things that I've observed is that when they talk about culture, what they mostly talk about is lift. Like we all speak lift in this room. If you're talking to a CEO, what language do they speak? Thrust. So if you're not getting the buy-in that you're hoping to get from your CEO or other important people at your company, learn to speak thrust. Learn to talk about results, goals, clear roles and responsibilities, specific tools and resources, and collaboration, and things that actually produce results. Thrust has to overcome drag, and drag is everything that keeps you from doing your best work. So what kinds of things keep you from being productive at work? Sorry? Meetings. Too many meetings. What else? Email. Not enough staff, right? Lack of resources, the wrong tools, lack of direction, and so forth. All of those things create drag. Now, when you put these 4 forces together, you get 4 kinds of culture. The first culture is what I call jet culture. Now, you could be a fighter jet, but there's not a lot of room in a fighter jet. So what you want to be is a jumbo jet. You want to have the kind of culture that's so attractive that lots of people want to be part of that culture. And you want to have a culture that's big enough that it can include lots of people, that you can have real diversity. You know, gender diversity, racial diversity, ethnic diversity, age, cognitive diversity, that there's a seat on the plane for everybody. Everybody can play, and everybody can go to the same place together. That's what I call jumbo jet culture. There's lots of lift. You're excited about coming to work. There's meaning. There's good relationships. and you're getting stuff done. You're creating something meaningful in the world and producing results. Okay? Now, if you have thrust but no lift, you're riding the bus. Okay, now the bus is okay. It's good for getting around town. It's good for short journeys. But you're not going to go very far or high on a bus. At least you're not going to go very far and be happy about riding the bus. You can do it in the short term, right? You can grind it out on the bus for a while, but it's not sustainable. If you're on the bus too long, you're going to get burned out. Okay? And if you have lift and no thrust, you're a hot air balloon. And it's a lot of fun to work at a company that's a hot air balloon, has a hot air balloon culture. There's a lot of fun there. People get along. It's great. But very little happens. You're not really creating or producing anything. So ultimately, in the long run, it's not very satisfying for most people. And if you have no lift and no thrust, you're a paperweight. Okay, and for those of you who live in California, maybe if you've been to the DMV and you've had to stand in line, and whether you've been to the DMV or wherever you live, whatever the equivalent is, you know what it's like to enter a workplace where it's gray and people are grim and they're frowning and nothing happens and everybody is miserable. Okay? So we have these 4 kinds of cultures. So here's what I'm really interested, though. How many of you work at a company where you feel like you have a jumbo jet culture? If you work somewhere that has a lot of lift and thrust, would you please stand up? Nobody? Seriously? Okay. So everybody else, notice who these people are, because they know something about creating a positive culture. Okay, thank you. You can sit down now. If you are riding the bus where you work, please stand up. If you're producing results, you're grinding things out, but it's not much fun. Okay, everybody else, look at these people. They know how to get stuff done. They're not having any fun, but they know how to get stuff done. Okay, thank you. You can sit down now. Now, if where you work you're having a lot of fun, but not necessarily producing results, please stand up. Nobody's having any fun? Oh, okay. All right. So these people, you want to find these people. They probably can't help you that much, but they know how to have fun. And that's important too. Okay? Now, if you're working somewhere and you feel like it's a paperweight, there's no lift and no thrust, please stand up. What's that? You can't, because it's being recorded, and your boss might see this. Wait a minute, I paid all that money and I sent her to that conference, and she said she's working for a paperweight. That's not going to go over well. So, okay, if you didn't stand up for any of the other 3, you know who you are. You want to seek out everybody who stood up because you have something to learn from them. And we all have something to learn from each other. So I'm going to turn it over to Michelle, and she's going to help you learn from each other. Harvest what you've learned here and share best practices that you know, more specific things that you know, to create more lift and thrust at work.